Welcome to the Real Triathlon Podcast. I'm your host, Garrick Lowen, here with Nicholas Chase and Jackson Laundry.
Welcome back. I have such a great person on today, and really we're only separated by like 3.5 hours. So we probably could have met in the middle, Skye. But Skye Moench is here with us. And Skye, thank you so much for being a part of this show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm not sure where we would meet in the middle, but we could have figured something out. Beaver gas station or something.
Beaver is the place where I would suggest. I do have I Heart Beaver on the back of my race kit for a reason.
Yeah, you love it.
So Skye, you look great first off, and
thanks.
Because the season is over, you're just glowing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've just been living up the off season. Like, you asking me to come on the podcast, I'm like, am I even a triathlete anymore? I don't know if I can go on a triathlon podcast. But yeah, it's been really fun and getting stuff done around the house. Turns out I can't actually afford off season. I end up buying things, and when you have time and energy to go to the store or everything, I don't know. It's expensive.
Costco.
Yeah, Costco in particular, you may have seen my story.
Yeah, you can buy a 4-wheeler, you can buy a new house, you can buy a bunch of trees.
Cars. I mean, we almost had to buy a car at Costco just to take home all of our stuff we bought at Costco. Like we had our car, but we needed 2 cars almost. So,
well,
that's how it goes.
They don't sell Tesla. So what are you going to do, Skye?
Well, exactly. I was like, no, Matt, this has to fit in our Tesla, and everything fit in our Tesla, but Tesla's incredible. So
there you go. Tesla sponsor. Yeah. Skye, please. She wants it.
I need more Teslas. Yeah.
So isn't it also a shame to think that and feel that only after a few short weeks of taking a little bit of time for yourself that you're feeling like you're out of the hustle and bustle and you're not as valid? Is that our culture that we're in? What is this?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe part of it's the culture. Maybe part of it's just, I don't know, like even I'm trying to spend less time on Instagram, I don't want to say trying to care less about triathlon, but just really trying to get back to, quote, like normal life and just enjoying doing things that I never do all year, like yard work, even just stuff like that. It just doesn't happen during the year. So it feels like a very different version of myself, and just not having every day completely dictated by a training schedule and what I'm eating and how much sleep I need to get. It just feels totally different. And I mean, fortunately, most people aren't racing anymore, so I don't feel irrelevant, but yeah, it just kind of feels like everyone's off doing their own thing now. So
looking at your website, which is great, by the way, your website's good.
Oh, thanks. It needs a little work, but it's been worse. So
no, I think I like your logo. I like your branding. It's really good. You've had a season, and I don't know if your results on your website are fully up to date. Well, Ironman
probably not. Ironman Florida's not on there.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got Ironman World Championship, Frankfurt, Chatty, and then St. George. Were those all the races you got in this season, or did you do more?
I did the PTO US Open as well, so I might need to add that. Yeah, it's been a good season. I'm really happy with how things built into the year and just ending it on the ultimate high. Like, it doesn't really get better than winning your last race.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this. If you win the race, obviously I can still look back and think, oh, this could have gone better, or I could have done this differently. But if you get second or third or worse or whatever, then you really start to psychoanalyze what you could have done better. At least with winning, you're like, well, regardless of what didn't go well, it worked out anyway. So yeah, it's nice to just end the year with a win. Feel like what I've been doing with my coach and other people I work with has worked for me this year, and that, we're going in the right direction, and yeah, just only more to look forward to as we build and learn. So, yeah. And honestly, like Florida for me, yes, it was a super fast time, and yes, it was a win, but I'm most pumped about my marathon time, honestly. Like, I love running. I consider myself a runner, but I don't think it always shows or maybe gets appreciated, maybe because I'm coming from behind or whatever, or I'm not putting down the fastest run splits. But I've always believed that I could run better than I've been running the last few years overall. I've had some good runs, but yeah.
Yeah, you've had good runs at even Florida before. I think most notably is like once you hit your pacing, Skye, like you don't let up. Like you are a strong athlete when it comes to compartmentalizing everything into momentum moving forward. It doesn't seem like much really gets in your way. And just in general, like thinking of you as just an athlete who I know and watch results, and among the collective of athletes who we all watch, like when I think of you, it's always, you can count on Skye. If Skye has a day that is a little off, it's off by a small margin. It's not like she's winning or she's DNFing. It's very, very consistent. And what do you attribute that level of mental consistency to? Because really the body's always going to be something that is a little bit different, but your mind has to make that happen. So what do you think is the key?
Well, it's when you were going in that direction with the question, I was going to say it is the mental side that is my consistency, I think. But the specific mental part, I don't know. I think I don't tie too much of my emotions to my results or to how the race is going, or like if a race isn't going how I want it to or how I thought it should go, I don't get upset about it, right? Like I just keep pushing. And yeah, sure, I have days where it feels more magical and things go perfectly for me. And then I have days where it doesn't happen like that. But I guess quitting is never an option. Giving up is never an option. And I feel that I'm always seeking to get the best out of myself no matter what. And not, just not being negative. I think the biggest thing is staying positive. And I think that's really hard to do, especially in Ironman. Like we're out there for 8, 9 age groupers, 15, 16 hours. Like there is a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot that can annoy you. There's a lot that
will go wrong.
Exactly. It's not like if, it's when. So there's just a lot you can be negative about. And I just think staying positive and not overthinking things. People always ask me, what do I think about in an Ironman? Honestly, the answer is like nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about what I'm doing in each moment, but I'm not thinking about what's for dinner. I'm not thinking about how bad my swim was or how annoying that person is. Of course, I have these flashing thoughts of like, that sucked, or why did that person do that? But I really do try to let it go and move on. So I don't know, maybe that's part of the consistency. I also kind of attribute some of like my life background, whether that's my upbringing and just tough growing up, or even just my corporate life. And I don't know, just being able to take on a lot and handle a lot and knowing that I'm capable of a lot, I think helps.
Yeah, I think that helping you summarize it a bit from the outside, I think you are able to easily put things in a place that is either relevant or irrelevant. And there's two categories. And I almost would even say, I kind of attribute a long Ironman day that goes by and is successful, whether you realize it or not, as like a long airport day. Like I typically turn off my brain as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing for me is sitting on an airplane for 8 hours for a cross-continental flight. So I think that's kind of the same mindset we end up doing, is we turn off all the externals, we focus on a couple things, but we try to just zone out and let our flow happen. And compartmentalization is an asset that you obviously have based on experience in life, whether it's previous stress, previous things you want to avoid. So you're good at that. And I think I see that in your racing. And that's why it just resonated with me initially. Like, Skye, you can count on Skye, because she's going to show up. And if she says she's good, then she's good. Yeah,
for sure. And I think that's one thing. I think Matt was saying that recently. He said, the thing your competitors probably know about you is that like, you're going to be there no matter what. So if they have a bad day, they better watch out, because you're not going to have a horrible day. Like you may not have your best day, but you're going to be there.
Yeah. I like that about you as an athlete. I think everybody should strive to work on keeping the emotional and the logical aspects a little bit more delineated within these long races. Cause it is an emotional roller coaster. It's like, between 60 and 100% emotional out there on race day.
Oh, 100%. But I totally agree. And I don't know if people think, oh, you just have to be so emotionally invested and you have to get so worked up and care so much to care. But like, just because I can block out all the bad and kind of turn my brain off. It doesn't mean I don't care. I care a lot, but I just know that wasting mental energy on anything but like moving forward as fast as possible and taking care of my nutrition and everything as well as I can, that's all I need to care about in that moment. So there's nothing else to care about or think about while I'm racing.
So a question we all get for every race is, oh my gosh, are you excited? And that for me is like a trigger because I'm like, no, I'm not excited. I'm very neutral. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm excited that I'm alive, but race, this is a race. Like, I just want to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I have some races that I'm more excited for than others, but a lot of races are just part of the job, right? Like I'm here to do the race and I care and I want to do well, but I'm not, with how much we do it, especially professionally, like every race cannot just be this huge emotional investment. Like it just can't.
Yeah.
If you want to save a few for that, great. But
yeah, you should,
overall,
of course. Like, a couple of them that mean like there's a couple of races that I still want to get to when it makes sense that I want to reinvest that emotional energy because it felt something a while back.
Yeah.
But okay, so racing aside, this year in general, definitely some good results from your end for sure. Topping off the season with a win at Florida. I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty about the race results. Those are easy to kind of find anywhere on Skye's feeds and videos. But I think learning about what is triathlon ecosystem been like for you this year, that it seems, at least, and the reason I'm asking is because it seems like companies are operating a little differently. They've maybe overspent budgets. I've heard a lot of really well-off athletes who are getting less deals, even they've been more successful. The industry, in my opinion, doesn't seem to be taking note that they're not taking care of the professionals in a way that is allowing us to really make a living at this. And it's almost, some companies are better than others, let's be honest, but
for sure.
It's a bit of a disservice if they want to continue their growth that they're not investing more in the people who are growing the sport. So how do you generally feel about that culture we have this year within the endemic ecosystem, and how have you found it?
I guess for me personally,
you don't have to dime anybody out either.
No, of course. I mean, I have quite a good lineup of sponsors that I'm extremely grateful for and proud to work with. And from what I can tell, they enjoy working with me. Like, so I guess for me, a lot of the big sponsors, like I've got Trek, I've got SRAM, I have Garmin, I have DeBoer, I have Form. So I have a lot of things covered. And because I guess my sponsors like working with me, so I don't find myself losing sponsors this year, fortunately. Good. And I find myself gaining a couple new ones. So for me, I think it's okay, but I'm also not the highest paid athlete out there, like, yes, I'm making a living, but I'm not getting rich off the sport. So I think for the athletes who you mentioned who are really higher earning than I guess I would say myself, they might be too expensive for some brands, right? Like, and too expensive sounds bad, but maybe they're just not willing. They're not interested in taking a contract that's not absolutely what they demand. And brands maybe aren't interested in investing that right now. And that's fine, right? Like, we all get to make our decisions. I would hope that every athlete I hope for every athlete that they get paid by sponsors. And I think sponsors should pay, especially if they're asking for a lot. And yeah, I guess I really only know my own experience, but from what I've heard, I think getting new sponsors, especially kind of the key sponsors like bike sponsors, just kind of the key triathlon sponsors, I think would be tricky and probably very difficult to get the kind of pay that you're hoping to get from a new sponsor. I think that would be difficult. So
yeah, I think that's the trend, is opening the door. Seems like there's a lot more resistance to get it cracked now. And I think that's good. I think I love that athletes who are putting their best efforts, their best mindset, taking care of this. It's because it's a nurturing relationship from both sides. You just too many athletes expect and they don't give. And I think you're an athlete who has foresight enough to give. And that's the other part of the question I want to ask is the deliverables that you're required to give. Are they more performance related? Like, let's say you had less successful of a season, would you feel at risk? Or do you feel like the rest of your business as Skye Moench, the rest of your flair, your presence, does that carry you also? And how do those work together?
I think for me, and this kind of carries over to how I perform in triathlon too, I think I'm pretty well balanced, right? Like, okay, I don't have 500,000 followers, but I think I'm pretty good at posting regularly, trying to share stuff, trying to engage. I feel like I engage a lot. I respond to a lot of DMs, which my sponsors probably don't know that, but you know what I mean? Like I really do try to engage with the community. But it's a balance for me too as an athlete, right? Like I can't spend all my time doing content and I can't spend all my money hiring someone to do content because I want to make a living, not just spend all my money on triathlon. There's other things I want to spend my money on in life. So yeah, I think for me, it's probably they appreciate my personality and maybe what I do put out there content wise, but then also I'm a solid performer, consistent performer, so I hope, yeah, I think for me, it's all around. And honestly, I think when I got into triathlon, I told myself to not expect anything. Like the best attitude I think anyone can have getting into the sport professionally is no one owes you anything. You have to earn everything. Because I think it's really easy to come in. And I thought this way. I didn't necessarily feel entitled, but I thought getting sponsors would be super easy. It's extremely difficult, especially if you have no results, no followers, no nothing, no network. Like I literally started with nothing. But still, I thought like, oh, because I'm professional, I'll get some sponsors. But that is not the case. So I think the attitude that I came in with not expecting anything and just having to work for everything and honestly expecting myself to pay for all of it and doing my accounting side hustles to do so. I think that's carried over to me even now. Like, not that I feel insecure with my sponsors, but I realize that this could all go away tomorrow. You know what? Everyone could ring me up and say, hey, guess what? Budgets are gone and you're top of the list to go. I don't think that's the case, but like, I don't expect that anyone is going to say, yeah, Skye, we want to resign you again and again, and we want to pay you more. Like, I just don't expect it. So yeah, I not to say that I felt insecure going into this round of like contract renewal, but I just knew, who knows, anything could happen.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what everyone's going with now is like, well, I don't know what I'm walking into right now. I mean, we've got good partnerships, but I don't know what that looks like on paper.
Yeah, I mean, the economy is crazy right now for everyone. Inflation's insane. I mean, there's so many factors, and yeah, of course we want to see professionals get paid. We want this to be sustainable for the sport to keep thriving and growing. But yeah, I think the attitude of not expecting or having no one owes you anything is the way to go. And
yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think, working in a lot of different ways to create within the sport and understand where you fit in and what you can add value to is important. And I think everybody has a spot to fill. And I think I want to talk eventually about some of the new Ironman, point series that they released, get some light opinions on that. But before I get to that, I wanted to talk about a couple comments, and you've probably been thinking about it a lot more since you and Sarah had been discussing about, women in sport. And I've heard this before, this is not the first person, that the stuff that men get away with on content, social media, personality wise, even finish line, charismatics, whatever it is, women feel like they can't hold themselves authentically. Is that maybe what it is? Or is it the authenticity isn't being received as that's not enough because the guys are doing some crazy stuff to get attention? Is that kind of how I'm feeling from you?
Yeah. I think part of it is when we do act authentically and it doesn't fit the mold that people have for female athletes or females in general, then it's received as cocky or arrogant or, not feminine or whatever. I think, yeah, men can say whatever they want, it seems like, and they get away with it. In fact, it's like nurtured. If we think back to the Sam Laidlow ordeal, like that was publicized like crazy, and they probably both gained a lot of followers for it. And I think if like it was two women doing that, it like that just wouldn't happen. First of all, it just wouldn't happen. Like, I don't think women would agree to do that. Not that they planned it or agreed to do that, but
well, they certainly played along with it eventually, and it was part of the backstory. But I mean, either way, emotions were obviously captured live and authentically, and it was a lot of opinions. But I think you're right. Like, had it been two girls that are made acting like that, I don't know if it would have been received as well. So it
would have been super catty. Like, it just, I think about this, right? Like, are we being authentic? Are we being genuine? Maybe we just don't have that, that side of our personality to us, and we just like to keep to ourselves and get the job done. But I do believe more of us are more competitive and more cutthroat than we probably lead on. And it doesn't mean we hate each other. No, but like, I guess maybe the difference is maybe more is being said behind all the women's backs. Like,
it is different,
more in our nature, but yeah.
I mean, I've noticed a strong different delineation between men and women pro attitudes right before a race starts. Like, normally, you'll see the pro men line up and there's like some pushing, just like jostling and smiling about it. Like, yeah, get out of my way. Or like, everyone looks.
Yeah, you're like pumping up the testosterone.
Yeah. And like women, I feel like just stone cold killers. Like, don't look at me. You don't deserve this right now. Like, there's a lot of different emotion.
Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily that any of us are faking it, but it's maybe we think twice before we want to really show our emotion, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel like I always put myself forward how I would. There's plenty of things that I say that then, like, I'm going to get off this podcast and be like, why did I freaking say that? Like,
I don't think you've said anything that is good as anyone's going to scoff at.
Not so far, but like, we're not done yet.
I want to get you there though. I want to get I want to rip you to rip somebody.
Fire me up.
Well, there was a bit of a girl on girl, I guess, bit of scrutiny at Super League, at least, when those two Scorpion athletes were, ran into each other. Almost looked like it was intentional. It was, I can't remember the exact name because there's a lot of names in my head right now. But either way, it went like on Barstool Sports, like hundreds of million views. So women were, and she had to apologize. There was a lot of girl drama there. So I would say like nobody's immune from it. And I think the drama is always coming from it. But I do feel like if an Amberger puts out some crazy boisterous race recap and calls Crowy ancient or says, oh, forget that, C word or something. I mean, that's usually laughed at. And I don't think if Lucy Charles Barkley was to do something similar, it would be like, man, Lucy's, what is this? Like,
for sure. Like, it's, and you know what? I'm not saying that men and women need to be the same, because we are inherently different. Like, this is how we're biologically kind of wired, but it doesn't mean that women can't be aggressive. Like, we are also aggressive, and we also want to beat everyone, and we also want to say what we want to say and not be treated differently for it or have it affect our persona. And the thing that Sarah True and I were talking about one point on that interview you mentioned earlier, maybe it was before we started recording, like, so much of a woman's not success, but like, we're judged a lot more by the way we look as well and how we present ourselves. And so there's that element, right? Like, we just need to like go fast and look pretty, and the guys need to like go fast and just put on a show. I don't know. It's, and I don't believe that everyone thinks that. Like, there are plenty of men who, know my every move and, are analyzing my Strava and all these things. Like, it's not like there aren't people out there valuing the athletes that we as women are, but it's just different.
It's just the different men and women and everything are always going to have some exact polarizing opinion, or like women's WNBA versus regular NBA. Like, there's all kinds of controversy there that I can't even begin to unpack. So with triathlon, at least, I feel like I know for a fact I really love watching the women's race more than the men's race. Sometimes it's more tactical, thought out. You all very much are like ninjas. Like, you'll wait to strike silently and then it's over. And for guys, it's like, oh, there he goes, putting on a big old flashy move, and so I think there's just difference in people, or just Yeah.
Well, and I think the important part of this whole discussion is just making sure that the women get the attention that they deserve. And maybe that's another thing you're going to bring up, because that's something recent that I've been more sensitive to, like after Florida. I mean, even an email went out from the PTO, and it was about a Black Friday deal with one of my sponsors, by the way. And they were only touting Rudy's record-breaking day at Florida. And I was like, wow, I don't know who wrote this email, or like, why weren't we both on it? I mean, we both broke records in Florida, and we both have the same sponsor. It was,
and I like you more. Like, that ad would have hit me better if you were on it, not Rudy. Sorry.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's just very glaring sometimes, the difference in attention and hype. I mean, even a lot of podcasts, I listen to quite a few triathlon podcasts because I'm a fan of the sport. And, you know, they'll talk about a race and they're like, who's the winner? And they just go on and talk about the entire men's race, and then like 2 seconds about the women's race. And it's like, okay, a lot more happened in the women's race than you just showcased. But yeah, it's kind of like an ecosystem problem, right? It's a cycle. Like, the less attention and hype we get, then like the less sponsor dollars we get, and then the less we invest in ourselves. So yeah, I think that's one thing everyone just needs to be more aware of, is if we're an equal sport, which we believe we are, because, you know, now we have equal world championship slots, we have equal, well, we've always had equal prize money, or at least for a very long time, we've always had equal prize money. So let's try to help the women be equal all around. So as a female, I would appreciate that.
Yeah. And this is a point I didn't want to dwell on too much. I know you have all had a lot of time to talk and think, and I wanted to see if there's any other reflections that you had from those conversations, but I think it's pretty much the same outcome as, you know, I agree. It does seem like at times there's a lot of overshadowing that we don't hear about from either side. And sometimes it's men, but it's more often than not, it's the women. And I think that this is the sport of all the sports who would be in a position to make it better, because I think as a collective endurance athlete atmosphere, everybody just generally loves getting along and sharing experiences together. I can't see anything besides of capitalism that's kind of messing with the dynamic there, besides, well, we just find more value in promoting a male athlete who did well. So that just seems to be the overbearing negative, right? Like, who's paying and who wants to get the money out there for the right reasons or wrong reasons.
Yeah. And just one thing I would add to this, thinking about it, and I thought about it again today because I heard another podcast talking about it, but like the split in the men's and women's world championship, I originally was very upset about. You may have heard me, I've said it a few times. I originally was not excited about it. I love racing with the men. I love watching the men's race, even if I'm on course with them. But after getting to Kona and experiencing Kona, I think the women having their own race and own location is actually really important now. Obviously, if we could all be in the same location on separate days, maybe that would be the best of both worlds. But even in that scenario where we're in the same location, we're going to share the race lead and hype, right? Like, we're going to share the social media posts, and we're going to share the fighting chance videos, or, you know, all these things that happen before these events. And when we were in Kona, we were the only ones racing, and we were the only ones getting all the hype. And I think that was really valuable. So yeah, I've joked a few times that I didn't miss the men in Kona as much as I thought I would. I thought it was actually really, really cool. I wish it could be that we could all be there and get all the hype equally, but it's really hard. It's hard not to be overshadowed by all the amazing personalities on the men's side. Like, I'm not discounting it. I love all the men personalities as much as anyone. Like, I love it. But yeah.
I think the hardest part for the split is not even to do with our race. It's the age group affiliates who have to decide husband and wife if we're going to one or the other. I think that's the only real problem, is that. But otherwise, I didn't have.
It's like couples should be able to elect which one they want to go to.
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's got to be some inventive way to keep it inclusive and not over budget, but also you know, tangible for these athletes who've worked exceptionally hard to get there.
Yeah.
And now everyone's just like, well, I'm only going to race hard on my Kona qualification year.
Oh my gosh. Nice looks amazing. Like, I
Does.
can't wait to race in Nice. I think it looks incredible.
All right. Well, so racing aside, politics aside,
Yeah.
you as a person, Skye,
Yeah.
what do you look forward to in the off season that isn't swim, bike, run, gym? What are the things you and your husband Matt like to do?
I mean, just all the things that we like to do that we don't have a chance to do a lot of in the regular season. So, um, I mean, we still try to do some of this during the season, but like if we're talking 2 months out from Kona, it's like train, eat, sleep. That's pretty much all I'm doing. Um, but hanging out with friends, going to dinner way more than usual. Um,
Travel, anything, family?
Definitely family. Yeah, spending time with family, friends. Obviously with off season usually aligning nicely with the holidays, it's perfect so we can spend more time and not be stressing about, oh, I'm going to get my training in. Um, Travel, it's funny. I Even a couple months ago, I was like, okay, we're definitely going on a proper vacation. Like, I'm booking tickets somewhere and we're going to just sit on a beach and just have like a proper vacation. But then by the time I get done with racing, I actually just want to be home because we travel so much racing.
Yeah.
And I don't even do crazy training camps. Like, I trained at home almost all year. But still, with racing and when you're just training and you can't do the little projects at home that you want to do or spend time with your friends and family, I don't know. I'm pretty content to just be home. So the travel thing, honestly, no, I travel for racing and then I'm pretty happy to just stay home. There's definitely some house projects. I mean, I just spent a couple hours cleaning up the yard today and I have a bathroom remodel on my list. Like there's a
Ooh.
lot of things that I really enjoy doing outside of swim, bike, run. So
Well,
yeah, it's not
hopefully,
glamorous.
hopefully you're gonna get ready to get tired of being indoors and cold and gloomy in Salt Lake, and you
Yeah.
might want to come out to Cozumel with us in January and hang out and just
I
have that
mean,
relaxation.
yeah, I am tempted. A traincation is always fun.
And it's
Yeah.
always very light in that's the best time of year, I think, to have a train vacation because it's like I'll train
Yeah.
a little, but I'll mainly vacate and I'll like train enough so where I can like literally have a great dinner almost every other night and some dessert.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's no need to deprive. Yeah, no, the timing of that camp honestly does sound nice because you're back to training, but there's no big race like around the corner.
Yeah.
So it's not high stress yet.
Skye, do you still do your same breakfast and dinner routine that I used to know about?
No, I don't
Okay.
anymore. Yeah.
Well, is it okay if I bring it up?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Well, I just want, it was always fascinating. You'd come back from the grocery store with some Ben and Jerry's or some pints of ice cream, and that was dinner. Whatever quantity that you felt was enough for the day or the evening, and then the same thing for breakfast. Why of all reasons did you go away from that?
Um, Honestly, I got sick of how sweet it was. I was like, this is just so much sweetness. And um, you kind of find something that you think works, and it did work. But then I was like, there's got to be other ways. So then I got on the chicken and rice.
Yeah,
And even the reason I got on the ice cream pre-race diet was because I had issues during the run where I'd need to go to the bathroom, like
yeah.
100%.
And so
So yeah. And so the ice cream was like, oh, well, it's not like a huge mass in my stomach and I don't have a dairy problem. Plenty of carbs, probably way too much fat, but like the ice cream worked pretty well. But yeah, there's a lot of other ways. But yeah, I quit doing that. When did I quit doing that?
maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, I would say in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Or I started mixing more. So then I would still do like quite a bit of ice cream, but I would enter in some very mild solid foods.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I felt like it was kind of counterintuitive where I'm like, I would never just sit. I mean, I eat ice cream regularly, but like I would never eat that much ice cream regularly. So I'm like, why am I like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's a
So
weird
I don't know.
indulgence.
Yeah. Um, anyway.
Well, cool. That was more of my, fun fact finding.
Yeah, that was a fun tidbit about Skye years past for sure. I did
Um,
many races off ice cream as my pre-race meal.
Yeah, I strictly remember some little ones that we were fortunate enough to hang out with before and after. So good for you.
Yeah.
I think that
Thanks.
evolution is changing it. And I was always like, I get it, but that is a lot of fat. Like I don't think I can handle all the dairy fat.
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't work for me at least. I know that.
Yeah. I don't have a dairy problem, but yeah, certainly more carbs is better.
Carbs is the best form of life, I think, for all of
Yeah.
endurance athletes. So next year, we've got a little bit of downtime. How many, what is considered enough for you before we start talking about next year?
What do you mean? Like how much are you
Yeah,
asking if you can ask me about it or
when are you gonna get itchy? Like I'd like to
Oh,
get back moving again.
well, I have been moving a bit. Like last week I moved about 5 hours. This week will probably be more, but it's only what I feel like. For example, yesterday and today I swam with my friend Megan, who you know, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll go for like a 30-40 minute run this afternoon. That sounds nice. But no, like it's not that I don't want to do it, but it's more that I get caught up doing other things. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, I don't have to do it, so I'm not going to do it.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Which in season, I'm like the most compliant athlete in the world. I never skip sessions. But again, like I don't have training right now. So, but if I'm going to move right now, it's going to be in the pool because the swim is a lot harder to get back than bike and run.
I agree.
And just, yeah, with it being my weakness as well, like I don't want to be out of the water that long. I don't know, like I don't feel ready to get super intense right now. I've only been off just over 2 weeks is when Florida was. So yeah, I think I have a call with my coach tomorrow, probably to game plan like what the rest of the year looks like. But I'm happy to be in pretty chill mode. Definitely will start training more, but yeah, I'm not gonna I'll get through Christmas for sure. And then that's probably when I am ready to feel intense about the sport again.
Yeah, and that takes us into next year. And with
Yeah.
I mean, I know you probably don't know, or well, maybe since you're still in tight with the PTO, you do know, but
Mm.
that contract period for getting PTO athletes to PTO races with, I'm sure it'll be a silly amount of money that we'll all be like, wow, that's a lot. And that's amazing. But then you've got the Ironman series to reinvigorate the validity of the full iron distance, which I feel like was losing a little bit of steam.
Yes.
How do you feel about Ironman's attempt to create a series championship that has more points available to earn throughout a series? I can't remember how many races, 18 races or something.
Yeah, I think it's 18. And you can have 5 races, count towards it. 3 can be Ironman.
Yeah. And so you can kind of like pick and choose a lot. The schedule isn't too restrictive. It does hit most all the places you would want to go for a championship or regional championship event. Are you going to be planning that as a part of your structure along with PTO, or would they allow that, or how are you feeling about next year?
Yeah, so my gut reaction, especially because the PTO hasn't come out with an exact schedule, and I work with a manager who has been talking to the PTO, on my behalf, so I have an idea of contract.
Is that
and
Mr. Ackworth?
Well, it's Holly who works with Mr. Ackworth.
Okay.
Holly Hale. But yeah, for me, okay, this isn't answering the direct question that you're asking me.
That's fine.
We're going to talk about it all.
I'm good at really messing up a good question. So you can.
No, you didn't mess it up, but it's just combined for me, right? Like the PTO, first of all, I've not seen a contract. I've heard some approximate numbers of what I would be offered. And then I've heard, how many races potentially I would have to do if I accepted the contract. And for me personally, like the dollar value isn't that appealing to me. It's simply not, because, and I don't know this, like I'm not on the athlete board anymore, but I'm guessing that the PTO is paying athletes based on media value. And I don't think it has anything to do with ranking. So I'm not to knock myself, but I'm not a super high media value athlete to them. Like I'm not, because the chances of me winning a PTO race, not super high. I don't have 100,000 followers to share, sure, I have an engaging audience, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
dude, we kind of know their flair.
Yeah, exactly. And so I yes, they need to fill these 16 contracts. And right now my ranking's 13th, I believe. So I would be in line to automatically receive one. But do I want to revolve my season around, I don't know how many races, but let's just say I had to commit to 5 races. Do I want to commit my season to traveling around the world for these 5 races to finish, I don't know, not on the podium, maybe on the podium? I'm not going to count myself out, but like it's not my strength. I am an Ironman
US
athlete.
Open, did you run into 8th or was it?
No, I was 11th. I ran into Tamara actually caught me at
That's what I
towards the end.
remember. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a solid athlete and I have fun doing those distances, but like I don't think they would offer me enough financial incentive to revolve my season around those races. Would I love to do some like wild card? Yeah, I would. Like if it's in the US, I would love to do that. But do I want to fly to Asia to maybe break even? Probably not. Like I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in breaking even in my career at this point. Like if I'm racing, I'm making money.
Yeah.
And because, my prize money is still meaningful for my income. I have great sponsors, but to be totally honest, like I still make a fair amount racing. And that's because I choose races wisely, I think, and I do well. Because even Kona, where I was 7th, like that was still a meaningful, like I made money there. So
that's a good payout.
Even staying there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So and to answer the Ironman question, that all of that is to say, I think the Ironman Pro Series is much more fitted to my strengths. And I think for me, that will probably be the route to go. But again, like I haven't talked to my coach thoroughly about this. I don't have all the details from the PTO. Like, what if the PTO only ends up being 2 races, right? Like, I don't know. If it's 2 races, then that's way more reasonable.
And a good payout.
But they would probably lower what they would be offering me even more. So I guess for me, I think the PTO, for those appearance fees or whatever they are, the contracts, whatever they're calling them, like they need to be meaningful enough that like you can travel to all these races and still make money even if you don't win it, right? Like that's I think the prize money might be going down too.
I was wondering if they're still going to pay good prize money or the appearance fees are going to be soaking up the majority of that.
I don't know the details at all. Like this is all just me speculating based on things that I've heard or whatever, but I think the prize money won't be what it has been. I mean, it already went down this last year. Well, and that was significant.
And to be fair, like I know that eventually we'd love to see that, but I don't know if our sport was necessarily ready for that level of payout for 3 races per year. Like it doesn't do anybody much justice for a trickle down effect if the top person's getting so much when you could be down to 20 a little bit more.
Yeah, more meaningful. Like it would be more meaningful for everyone to get a bit more. And I hope the prize money does get lessened and just maybe it just gets lessened more at the top and that makes 10th, 11th, 12th place more meaningful.
Yeah, because what was it, 100K, then 50 or something, or was it 175, 50? So it dropped a lot for third.
Third may have only been like 40 or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, speculation again, because I don't remember the exact numbers either, but
we could look it up. I actually have it like not.
You're like, I've got this
far out of reach.
I know who's made what where at all times.
No, I just had this thing pulled up on my phone. Yeah, so the PTO Tour top 30. Yeah, first was 100, second was 50, third was 35.
Yeah, third's pretty. I mean, you got to be looking at first and you're like, I still raced.
Yes.
I was within a minute. Like
you could have been within 10 seconds and you're getting a third of the money.
No,
so anyway, I don't want to sound critical of the PTO because obviously they've done a lot of awesome things and I've enjoyed it and I've benefited greatly, like especially with the Collins Cup. And, they forked out a lot of cash for those first couple of years and
millions of dollars.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for what they're doing. But I think for an athlete like me, right, who's not super high media value, whose strength is Ironman, like I think it would be foolish of me not to focus on the Ironman series.
Yeah. The payout's still good. And the Ironman broadcast is always reliably what it is. They're doing their best.
And maybe they'll get better.
I think they every year they get a little bit better on some aspects. So PTO has pushed Ironman to get better. Everybody is really working well, I think, in this ecosystem. I think even Super League's been a great advantage to show, like, Hayden Wild making over 100 and something thousand just through the Super League series alone.
Yeah.
So I think there's money out there, and I think that's what we need our young athletes to see, that it's worth sticking around and working and building a network and elevating the sport. So I think, to be very clear, that's what we're advocating for.
And that's what the Ironman series is so good about. Like, what I think is so good for the sport is, like, with the PTO, you hear a lot of complaints, or we did hear a lot of complaints from lower ranked athletes saying this doesn't help me at all because they're never going to race a PTO race, or they're never going to get the bonus, or whatever. Like, a lot of complaining, which you can understand. But I do also go back to what I said before. No one owes you anything. You earn it. So just, if you're good, you'll get there, and it's possible. But the Ironman series is available to anyone who wants to pay the pro membership fee and sign up for a race. And if you're good, you'll be part of the ranking and the payout. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, there's no cheating the system there. There's no, if you're good, you earn money. Yeah. And that's life, isn't it? So
yeah. And by the way, the Challenge Family end of year bonus has been around for many years and it's been pretty much similar, and they have not gotten that credit where it's due. I remember maybe 3 years ago when I was at was it Challenge or Clash Daytona? I can't remember which one was branded at the time, but they were going through the Challenge payout. They were awarding those dollars at the party at the end. And I think might have been Ditlev made like an extra $80K right then and there because he raced really well at Challenge races. So I think it's always out there. And if you're willing to get it, you can get it. Like, you're true of that too. Like, you worked hard, you focused on Ironman. That's your great bread and butter. You're that athlete, and it's been taking good care of you. The sponsors love that you're dedicated and a great spokeswoman for it. So I think it's been a great career that you've been building subtly, not boisterously, but also with consistency. And I think you've had the best looking Trek bike out there.
Oh, 100%. Not even Trek bike, just bike. Let's just
fair. Trek's been putting out some crazy colors, but in general, your purple, whatever they named it.
The chroma iridescent. Yeah. It's a Project One paint job. Anyone can get it.
Yeah.
You just have to pay for it. So
use Skye's code.
Let them know I sent you. Then they'll keep sponsoring me.
So I think that's great. You'll be considering the Ironman
for sure
project for sure. I think, we've got to nothing else. We've got to love that organization for still doing their best for what they can based on the corporate structure and their end goals as a company, which is to make money. So
and I actually feel a bit bad because I think I've been kind of hard on Ironman and I've said it on podcasts where I'm like, I just don't think Ironman cares that much about the pros. And so them coming out with this really shows that they do care, like they are investing in us. And I think that's really cool. I don't know who their new CEO is, but like, I'm a bit sad to see Andrew Messick go because I feel like he actually has done more for the pros than we give him credit for or realize. Like at the Kona award ceremony, they put on this huge show, like thanking him. And a big part of that was him talking about how important it was. And then them explaining how important it was that we had a day for women for world championships, that we had our own day. And I didn't realize like perhaps how instrumental Andrew Messick was in that. So anyway, not to like kiss Andrew Messick's butt here, but like I don't know. I feel like maybe he hasn't gotten the credit from the pros that he deserves. He's probably done more for us than we realize.
I think he's been in a tough position, and living in Tampa for a while and crossing paths with him, here and there. Like, he's a really personable and nice guy. Like, honestly, he's never given me the vibe that he is against us. And I think if anything, it's like the president, right? The constraints they have to work within. We'll never know the pressures the deadlines, the budgets, and I think he has had to work within what he has had to work with, and oftentimes maybe can't even translate to us because it's like, well, I got a billion other things to worry about, pro athletes, and we'll get to you. We're trying, and it's not perfect, but eventually we'll do better. And holy crap, they did better. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, they did. They did. The Pro Series is huge. Like, that's a lot of money and will be very impactful for anyone who can be a part of that bonus structure. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Paying into it still is a bit of a chap, but it's all right.
Huh?
We still have to pay that $1,200 every year.
Oh, yeah. The membership fee. I forget about it because, well, I used to always pay it at the beginning of the year. So then you just kind of forget about it. And
well, how many pro athletes do you think pay into that? Maybe 400?
I don't know. I don't know how many buy a full membership, right? Because you can buy just one race at a time. So there may be a few who only buy one or two races, but yeah, I bet 400.
Yeah. So,
Hey, but you know what? As you know what else I have a lot of respect for Ironman. Now we're making this the Ironman show, is that they conduct an anti-doping testing pool. Because, I mean, I posted a bunch on my stories like a month ago.
That was awesome, but super informative.
Yeah, people loved it. Yeah, I know. Sorry, people loved it. But it just made me realize like how expensive all that is, and just in light of recent events and recent drama with athletes in the sport and positive drug tests, even like it just made me really appreciate that Ironman is willing to invest that, and it's not cheap, I imagine.
No way. It's probably millions right there in travel and certifications and everything. So there's no way that's cheap. And I know, we got a guy here who's on whereabouts right now. So like, I know what you have to go through for your projections and where you're going to be in the stringent level that they keep tabs on you. So it's not an easy program to be part of.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to be aware of it. There's definitely been a few times where like I'll leave town. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to update this now before they come to my house.
Yeah.
Because probably especially in the off season when you're a little more relaxed with life in general. But yeah, like you can't forget about it, because if you don't have your whereabouts accurately listed, then that's not good.
Yeah.
And they come to test you and you're not there. It's not good.
3 strikes and you're kicked out.
You're out. Yeah.
So back to off-season chat real quick. I'm glad that you're stoked on all the Ironman stuff, and we'll look forward to seeing what your season looks like. I'm sure you'll know in the next couple of weeks, at least the first few races.
Yeah, definitely the first few. Yeah. Although if I'm only choosing from Ironman series, like there's not that much to choose for.
Oceanside, Texas, St. George. I don't know. How do you choose?
Well, I know, because the timing, I would honestly rather do St. George over Texas, but Texas is a full Ironman and I'd need to get 3 in.
Yeah.
So then
there's only there's like Texas for males. There's Frankfurt females, Hamburg.
Placid. Yeah.
But there's 2 US ones right there. That's it.
Right. Exactly.
Victoria Gasteiz is, and then you've got Kona, and then like Australia.
Yeah, so I guess I could maybe do here. We'll just plan my season now. Texas. When's Lake Placid? Is that like July?
July.
Yeah, okay. See, I wish that there were more Ironmans like 3 weeks apart, because
that's perfect.
It's perfect. And you know what? You don't have to do 3 Ironman builds in a year. So yeah.
I've got the schedule right here too. And it is a bit tough, because I was myself.
It is tough.
Man, I love Tremblant 70.3. There's a lot of amazing 70.3s that I just want to do again. But then there's like 5 fulls total. So you really got to be careful. And plus, with all the Super League crap I have to do at the end of the year.
Right. You don't want to be racing.
No. Can't do it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that the World Championships are part of it. I mean, they have to be part of it.
Yeah, so. Good for you.
Yeah, for me, that's nice, because
that's one commitment.
Yeah, one that I know I'll be at.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll look for that coming out and probably see it Texas. Just because
everyone's going to be at Texas.
Everyone will be at Texas. But are you going to do some more cross country skiing also? I think I saw you and Matt do that.
Matt and I have done it once. You probably didn't see him. But I do it. Yeah. And I think I've recruited, or not recruited, but I think I'll have a few more friends doing it this winter,
Nice.
which helps. Because here's the thing about me. I'm kind of paranoid of going into the mountains by myself. Like I just am, because I don't know if there's going to be a cougar or a moose. I just don't want to encounter anything by myself.
Yeah.
And like when you go on a weekday, even to like a groomed area, you're still up in the mountains here, and moose will be there. Or
Yeah, in
cougars.
Park City, a moose was in our backyard, charged us
Exactly.
walking our dog.
Exactly. So the more friends I have to go with, like the more I'll enjoy it. Because even though I'll go by myself sometimes, I'm kind of on edge the whole time. I'm like, when is there going to be a moose around the corner, and how fast am I going to have to get away? So
Yeah, and
I have no reason to feel this way. I haven't had an experience, but you never know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that on your socials. Skye.
Yeah, lots of snow. Yeah.
Keep up all of the. I think you've got a really authentic vibe. You're a great asset to our sport, and
Thanks.
obviously the women, the female voice aspect of it is super important. And I always love hearing different opinions and sides of the story. So thanks for being very transparent about all the different aspects I would never have felt. So I think that's important that we get it out there. And thanks for coming on the show and talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me and chatting a wide variety of subjects. It was fun.
Yeah, I think that's as random as it gets is today. So thanks for being cool. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. We'll look forward to having you on or seeing you maybe in Cozumel camp. It'd be amazing to have you there. It'd be the best camp ever. And of course, we don't expect you to do anything but get a tan.
That's all I really want out of it is a tan.
So yeah, we'll talk again, and thanks for coming on. We'll keep everybody updated on Skye's website on the show notes and her YouTube channel as well. So Skye, we got you back.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, give us a peace out. Ready? Peace out.
Okay.
Say it. You gotta say peace.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Is that for Jackson? Because that sounds very Canadian.
Yeah, it's mainly because the Canadian, Garrick and Jackson are Canadian. We started it.
Right.
We've kept it going, even though it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Whatever works.
No, fine. Okay. Peace out.